It's time now for the cosplay wrestling highlight of the week, the AEW review of July 14th, the first time back with fans. They actually had their fans, and they were a screaming, yelling bunch.
Outside of Jacksonville, of course.
And outside of Jacksonville, yes, they're in Austin, Texas, and they haven't had any wrestling there in quite some time because of the pandemic, so they're all fired up for it. And I looked at the people, and they're going nuts. This reminds me, in a lot of ways, of an ECW crowd, especially in the early days. It's a fad crowd. They're not looking for wrestling. They're looking for chaos and bullshit. But whereas the ECW fans were looking for violent, bloody chaos and bullshit, these people are just looking for silliness and chaos and bullshit because the style has changed. But they're all young. That's what concerns me the most. And that's why as soon as I knew who was going to be involved in this thing, I thought this is not going to be good because these people are not old enough to have actually seen wrestling before. So they think that this is wrestling. That's why they're basically indoctrinating a whole age group of people that this is what pro wrestling is supposed to be, and it's fucking embarrassing. And I knew this was going to happen, and that's why I was hoping that old Tony Khan would come to his senses and not get in business with who he was going to get in business with. But it's come to pass. And the entrance of the formerly balding plumber, now all the way bald plumber, the CEO of Moxley Plumbing, at least this made sense. It was like Sandman and ECW. You know, once the bell rings and the match starts, it's going to be the shits. But the entrance, he's out there with the people. They're playing the music. They like it. He likes it. That's the best part of the fucking thing. It didn't make any sense for the last year and a half when he was wandering into an empty amphitheater of 5,000 empty seats from the parking lot like he just couldn't dress with the boys because they don't like him or whatever. This at least made sense. He's out there with the fucking people. Was it Sandmanish to you?
Nah, not really. And I'm not saying that as a put down. It was different. I think, Wild Thing and Sandman are different. It's a different feeling that you give the crowd with the music.
Which do you like better, Wild Thing or Inner Sandman?
As a song or as an entrance song?
As an entrance song, as anything.
As a song, Wild Thing kicks Enter Sandman's ass because...
Oh, come on!
I'm not a big Metallica fan.
I don't give a shit about Metallica anyway, but Enter Sandman is a classic song.
Enter Sandman's all right. I would never listen to it in the car or anything, but when, like Mariano Rivera used to come out at the Yankee games to Enter Sandman, and the Yankee fans seemed to like that. But, the Sandman had Woman, and he had Missy. He didn't have Eddie Kingston bopping around behind him while he went through the crowd.
Right. You got me there. Either Woman or Missy would probably be better for the shot than Eddie Kingston. I think even he'd admit that. But anyway, the U.S. title is recognized by New Japan Pro Wrestling on the line here. Moxley is the champion, of course, defending it here in this company against Karl Anderson, who's been with New Japan for years and years. And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're going to have unlike most AEW matches, they're going to be serious. They're going to follow the rules. This is a U.S. title match from New Japan. Both these guys make money with New Japan. They're going to treat this seriously. They're going to have a championship match. They're not going to have all the falderall they usually have. This is what I'm thinking ahead of time, right? But then suddenly... it's a jump start. Eddie Kingston just blows into Gallows and starts beating on him. Moxley jump starts on Anderson. Kingston and Gallows fight off into the arena, and suddenly all action in the ring stops for a second while they look at each other, Anderson and Moxley, and then they proceed to exchange, and I counted 38 fake-looking forearms. They're trying to do a 1-2 in the middle of the ring, but neither one's throwing a punch, because I guess neither one can throw a punch, because why wouldn't you if you can? Instead, literally, fake-looking forearms that hit nobody, land on nothing, and they don't sell any of them. They're just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, 38. And then once they finish with that, they immediately go to the floor, fight over to the ramp and start suplexing each other on the fucking entrance ramp. This is in the first 2 minutes. They can't even have a straight title match when it's somebody else's title that they have, and they're fucking. They were on the floor for a minute and a half while the referee stayed in the ring and I guess took that opportunity to rub one out. They used the gimmicks on the floor, etc. Anderson took over by kicking to start the heat by kicking Moxley off the apron of the ring onto the floor, and he took a bump and he milked being counted out of the ring. After they just fought out of the ring for a minute and a half, both of them, and the referee did nothing. Now he's laying there and the referee's counting and he's going to milk like, oh my God, could he be counted out? The rules only make any difference in this company when they want to do a spot involving a rule. Otherwise, there are no rules whatsoever. They did more back and forth. And this was a match with Moxley in it. And they're all the fucking same thing. It wasn't silly or funny. It's just this, between Moxley's physique and his work and the psychology of his work, the way he calls matches and the way he sells or doesn't sell, depending on whether the spot that he's called calls for him to sell or not, his matches are fucking rotten. And this was, so then remember the paradigm shift, the fucking finish he was doing where it's a double arm DDT?
Yeah.
Okay, after they've done all this shit to each other, he grabs Anderson and hooks him for the double arm DDT, but just picks him up and kind of a shitty double arm suplex where he didn't drop him on his head for a DDT. He just dropped him over on his back, but they called it the paradigm shift and acted like it was a DDT. And that 1, 2, 3. Meanwhile, it takes a bazooka to get Moxley or anybody else on this program to sell anything or to remember the second rope, top rope tombstone pile driver from last week and the this and that and the other thing. And we'll have more examples in this program. But this bump didn't look like it would beat my Aunt Lola. And that was it. 1, 2, 3. Because that's his finish. He just either didn't want to, maybe Anderson has a bad neck and said, don't fucking give me that goddamn finish the way you usually do. I don't know. But what'd you see that I didn't see here? Because that's pretty much it.
I'm not a fan of Moxley or his matches. This was no different. I thought Karl Anderson looked okay, but the match layout didn't do it for me. I didn't like it at all. I hate the idea that titles just randomly appear on this show. I mean, the first 2 matches are, one of them's a title for another organization, another one's a bullshit title.
Not a real title.
Yeah, and those are the first 2 matches. I didn't like this. I don't like his matches. I just don't think Moxley's
what was with
matches.
The finish? Did he not hit it and they just acted like he did? Or did he mean to do that on purpose like that?
I have no idea. And if I could say one positive, no matter what I think, the people there were into the personalities. There were points during matches where people just waited for something to happen, but they were into a Jon Moxley going through the crowd.
Yes. And all those people are into all this stuff. And as I said, that's part of the problem. And I know now somebody's going, oh, Cornette's mad when the fans like it. No, there's still not very many of these fucking people, and nobody is going to fucking follow along for this. They're not making new fans. They're using or working on the same existing fans they have, which is the people that they've been able to teach that this is fucking wrestling. This substandard, phony, silly, fake fucking product that they do is wrestling to some of these people. And that's why they like it. But for a wrestling fan or for anybody to hop on board with this thing, they got to start trying to make some people believe in some shit to get some people over. So what they're doing right now is just muddying the water and making some of these young people think this is wrestling. And it's embarrassing. Anyway, Lance Archer did a promo. Jake was upset for some reason, but I couldn't understand why. And then he wandered out, and Archer wants a rematch with Moxley for the U.S. title. And next week, since they're in Texas again, it's going to be a Texas death match. Not because they've built to the stipulation or not because they've worked a previous match that called for that. They've switched the title back and forth between them a time or two. But they're having a Texas death match because they're in the state of Texas.
Well, he did say that I guess they previously in New Japan had a Texas death match.
I don't know. I don't understand. They didn't have a Texas death match in New Japan. Does New Japan have Texas death matches?
I don't know, but this is not your father's New Japan.
Well, no, but he lost the title to Moxley in New Japan. I don't think it was a Texas death match.
Maybe I'm wrong.
You usually are.